Welcome back to BTR Boxing Podcast Network. I'm your host, Sean, and this episode I am joined by a relatively new professional boxer from the Northwest area who is been training predominantly up in the Northwest, doing a lot of sparring up with a lot of gyms that people will know, which we'll speak about throughout the course of the interview. But I'd like to welcome on 1-0 prospect Kyle Davies. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're very busy. You've got a fight coming up, which we'll
Yeah,
talk about. But because we've never done anything before, me and you, we've never done any interviews face to face. This is the first time I'm really getting to know who you are and what you're all about. And for the purpose of these guys that listen to these shows, I think it's really good to get a little bit of background on yourself and sort of find out where your introduction to boxing came from. So, where did it all begin for you, Kyle?
well, my cousin was a professional boxer, Scott Lawton. So I think it kind of started there, just being around boxing, and then I got to an age where I just wanted to try it. To be honest, I didn't even know how long I'd stick at it. I was just trying everything at that point. But obviously, Scott had a gym, so it made it quite easy to just. It was just easy access to get there, really. And it was comfortable because obviously it was Scott's gym, so I didn't feel like weren't really too daunting. I just thought I'll just give it a go and see, and if not, then I've tried it.
So your introduction, so it was through Scott. Now, Scott used to
Yeah,
be, I don't know if he's still there. He's at Impact, weren't he?
yeah. It's the same gym. Yeah, still at
Yeah.
Impact.
So obviously Scott has been someone I've previously dealt with, done interviews with, done
Yeah,
interviews with some of the fighters he's trained
yeah,
with. Great guy, and
yeah,
obviously you've got that family relationship where you've then been introduced to the sport
yeah,
through this way. Because some people's stories, Kyle, are usually very varied. Like some people get into it because they're either being bullied at school or they're
yeah.
either
No,
having a really adverse childhood or there's many reasons, but this is just like a family thing for you.
yeah, no. I was just wanted to give something new a go. I was just trying everything at that time, and I just thought, you know what, I've got the like it's there, like it was accessible really easy. So I thought I'll just give it a go.
So as the time progressed when you first started going to the
Yeah,
gym, what was it like then starting to sort of match up with people and do like the skills bouts and then transition into an
yeah.
actual
Well,
amateur career?
I mean, I just started at white collar, to be honest. I didn't really know. I was just going, sparring anyone. I can remember I probably was in the going maybe 2 years or so, just sparring the pros, just getting in with anyone really. And then I was supposed to actually have a white collar fight that fell through. And then obviously the more I went, oh, I want to an amateur. So I started going to Scott's amateur classes. But there was that many lads in there that I weren't really, because Scott didn't run that class and I didn't really get a look in. So I ended up actually going and traveling to different gyms and trying to find a gym that hadn't got much boxing so I could get a bit more, get my foot on the door a bit quicker. And that's how I ended up training in Northwich actually for my amateur career. And I went straight into I didn't have any skills bouts. I think I had my first bout at 15, I think I was. So I was just past the age for the skills bouts. So that's how it started, really. Just I went to Northwich, and there was a few fighters, but there weren't too many where I didn't feel like I'm never gonna get a chance to have a go at some point.
What was that like then, coming from that different background, really, like coming into it quite later on? Because some people come
Yeah,
into it quite young, don't they? And then
yeah,
they just progress over the years as they get older.
yeah.
And
See, that's what I saw in the amateurs, that everyone had seemed like they'd been doing it for a long time, and everyone had had so many bouts, and that was what I thought I found quite hard at first because I didn't really have that much experience. I kind of was jumping in the deep end to per se.
so you've been doing this for a little bit of time now,
Yeah,
and
it
you've
has
now
been now. Yeah,
you've transitioned into the professional side of the sport.
yeah,
That's a big decision to make. What really prompted it? Was it because you enjoyed it? Was it because you felt you were getting better at what you was doing?
yeah. Well, I always wanted. That was when I first started. I was saying to everyone, "I'm going to be a professional boxer." Like that is everyone's dream at first. And then I had seven amateurs. Won five, lost two in a East Midland. I lost in an East Midlands box cut final, and I lost in the Haringey final. Um, and I was just getting a bit stale in the amateurs. Obviously I joined quite late, so I was getting older, and I was like, I think the next thing to really give me a bit more, like, just to push me on is to turn pro. So I had a conversation with my coach who had been with me through the whole amateur career, and he said like you're probably gonna have to take a year out and train a bit more to transition because I was 18 when I wanted to turn over, so I had a year out. Then COVID, which made it 2 years out. But to be honest, it was the best thing I did. Like I just saw so much improvement and change in my mentality and my boxing over them 2 years that I think if I would have stayed in the amateurs, I would have just gotten a bit stale, and I don't know what would have happened. To be fair,
It's different though, isn't it? Like when you're in the amateurs, you have to box a certain way. You have to box a
yeah,
certain style. And
yeah,
the one common theme that I hear and I've heard for years with professional boxers that I've interviewed is I don't have necessarily that style that
no,
suits
yeah,
being an amateur because it's very much like fencing. You know, you're picking
yeah,
your shots. Some people don't like to fight like that. Some people like to do things a different way. So I can understand then why you've made that decision to go off on
yeah,
your own back and get that experience. And then obviously with COVID, like you say, it's given you the
yeah,
opportunity to go and train even more and get yourself prepared for a transition into the pro ranks. So, am I right in thinking you're around 21, 22 now?
yeah. Just turned 22 in January. Yeah,
So, you're relatively young. You've just turned over. You had one fight last year, professional fight against Daryl
yeah,
Sharp, very well-known journeyman in the UK on the circuit. I know Daryl quite well, and he's a very tough guy, and
yeah,
he's
yeah,
very difficult. He's a very difficult guy to fight on some nights. Some nights
yeah,
he goes through the motions. Some nights he can be a very difficult guy to
yeah.
fight. So you transitioned last year. Just talk to me about like what that experience was like finally doing the transition. Was you nervous? What was the feeling going into it?
Well, I think, like you said, that amateur style probably lost me them two finals. That weren't really my style. So that is a big factor of why I did turn over because I thought the pros are going to suit me more. Um, Sparring more and more pros, I kind of realised like it was a good job I took them 2 years off because I probably wasn't physically ready when I was 18, 19. So the transition has been harder, like, don't get me wrong, but I think my style has complemented it well. So it has helped me to adapt. And yeah, like that first pro fight was like, well, it's the first time I've had no egg guard on as well. First time, it's little things, first time in no top, boxing in no top, first time having a ring walk as such. Normally you're already at the side of the ring at amateurs and you hop straight in, put your guard on and box. First time I've had more than like five people come watch. So a lot was new. It was my first Southpaw as well. But just in that bout, I was just realizing as it was going, like, this is like, I much prefer this. And I'm glad I made the decision, really.
So, one of the biggest challenges you face at this stage of your career very early on, and something that our listeners in America don't really understand until they hear from people like yourself in the UK, is that you guys have to do things a certain way in terms of getting your professional fights off the
Yeah,
ground. So, you guys work with a certain promoter, and then you would then
yeah,
have to have an allocation of tickets that would have to be sold to allow for the cost of the opponent to be covered, and also you to be able to take something away from that, which
yeah,
can be
yeah,
very, very, very challenging and extremely difficult, which is why I know you also have to work a job to be able to finance yourself at the same
yeah.
time. So that must have been a real eye opener for you.
Oh yeah. Like I mean, I've been lucky with tickets. I can't say I've not, but there's still been times where the first couple of weeks of selling them where I'm stressing, thinking, oh, I might not make up enough to even sell. Like, forget getting paid to even get the fight off. I mean, I'm lucky with sponsors and good like supporters that I do manage to do okay. But I know from the other lads as well how hard. I know myself that I just even dropping tickets off, like dropping people tickets off all the time, and then going to train, and then try and chase people up to see if they still want a ticket. People cancelling on you, and then you stress that you might not even get to fight. Like it was a different world from just boxing, like just having a bout in the amateurs and just knowing I don't have to do anything but turn up and train and fight. Really,
Yeah, it is. It's hard, and I think people that are not educated within that side of the sport don't fully appreciate how
no,
difficult it can be. I mean, the average person that watches boxing doesn't really appreciate that the guys at this
no,
level, like yourself, are trying to make ends meet whilst trying to train, whilst trying to progress your career, whilst trying to have more difficult
yeah,
fights and actually step yourself up, every couple of fights that you're having. So I understand and appreciate like how difficult it actually is. And this is why it's so important when you mention sponsors. It's when I've always done these interviews with people at this level. I've always said, look, these guys are like the bloodline to what you're doing at the moment, and
yeah,
without them at this stage of your career, how are you really going to be able to facilitate where you're going with it without that level of support? It's incredibly important. So I
yeah,
noticed you've got a top on there on the video that we're doing as well. I
yeah,
noticed you've got a couple of sponsors on there. So I think it'd be an apt moment for them just to kind of
yeah,
get mentioned by yourself, for them to sort of know like how much it means for
yeah.
you to be able to get this level of support.
Well, I do have some. I do have one more sponsor that's not on this t-shirt, but the t-shirts are just getting made. But I've got C&G Equine. It was actually my mum's company who I work for, but she helps me like from traveling to sparring to London to back to everywhere. And then we've got Magna Project who helps. I couldn't do it without them, to be fair. It's from um, clothing to a medical, which is just such a hot, expensive thing, especially when sometimes you don't even make enough back to pay for your medical over the year. And then I've also got cutting it barbers who have supported me from the start as well. So I'm really thankful for all them.
Yeah, absolutely. A big shout out to all of them because, without them, you wouldn't be able to continue doing what you're doing. And one of the things I picked up on when we was chatting privately before doing the
Yeah,
interview was like I was looking at where you were going, who you were sparring, and I
yeah,
recognized a lot of familiar faces, a lot of people that I would know, a lot of people that I've previously interviewed and done stuff with in the gym, and it's great to see. So, like, I've seen a few names, Mikey Ellison from
yeah,
Elite Boxing Gym, you've
yeah,
been over to Elite. I've seen Lyndon
yeah,
Arthur over there.
yeah,
I've seen you in there and doing things with people
yeah.
at such a different stage of the career. So for you at this stage, what is it like getting into the ring with somebody who's so much further on in their careers, like experience wise?
Um, yeah. I mean, it does. Honestly, I can't say that I don't get nervous because I do. The more I've done, the more I've kind of told myself, do you know what? Like, I belong. Maybe not now, but I can see that I belong there. I will get to that stage, as in not the sparring, as in the fighting. Like they give me a goal that I can actually physically get in there and go right. I know how good they are. I know what level. I've seen how hard they train um, to get there, and I think it's just done good for my confidence as well just to know that I've been in with them. I keep getting asked back. They never say no when I need sparring, so I must be doing something right in my coach's eyes to put me in there, and also their eyes to keep letting me come and take the time. Like really, I'm taking time where they could have had someone else in. Like they're busy as well, but they're always having me back. So it's just done good for my confidence, and also give me something to really aim for now, a real goal.
So you're out in a week. You're out on the
Yeah,
25th of March, and
yeah.
you've got an opportunity to be back in there. We're very early on into the year still. We're in
No,
sort of
yeah,
the
yeah,
first quarter of the year. So what is the ideal scenario for you now in terms of the amount of fights this year, providing you stay injury free and healthy, of course?
yeah. I mean, last year was just hard. Just a lot of things, just you know what it's like. A lot of things just went wrong. So this year we're hoping, I think, to get four is a minimum. Just get four in. Good bouts. I mean, my next opponent as well. He's I think he's had four, won one, lost three. So he's not like what you'd say anyone would say a journeyman. Like he's going to be a good bout. I know he comes to win. It's just more bouts like that where I can keep learning different styles because I've not had the background of the amateurs, so I really have got to make up for it in sparring and fights. So yeah, the plan to be have four, and then see where we are in four next year, and see like is there a possibility for the title at the end of next year? Like just to see what is on the cards really, but we need to just make sure we get enough bouts this year to be able to then excel again next year to the next stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Activity is the key, as
Yeah,
everybody will tell you, as you know.
no, yeah.
Who's promoting you at the moment? Who's your main promoter?
So it's Black Atoms, but that's in partnership with Scott Lawton. Um, so yeah, that's what I mean. I just signed with Scott, and then I think Black Atoms come quite new with and done something with Scott as a new promotion. Um, I think they had a show at King's Hall. It was a really good show, all live streams. Everything. I was actually away, fortunately for that. But yeah, it was a really good show. And I think that was their first one. This will be their second with Scott.
And who's actually managing you? Is it Scott as well?
Yeah, Scott's my manager as well. Yeah,
Okay, so you're in good, capable hands then.
yeah, definitely.
So obviously I've seen the fighters over the years that Scott
Yeah,
has had on his books and has been
yeah,
training, and I know, and I've met Scott a few times, and I know that he'll be doing a great job of getting you the
yeah,
fights and getting you pushed forward throughout your career over the course of the year. It's quite exciting, but you've got a lot of work to do, haven't you? Like you said, because
yeah, definitely.
you've got to make up for sort of lack experience elsewhere. And you know, the thing is, some fighters like don't have extensive amateur backgrounds and then are
No,
able
no, no.
to come into the professional sport and able to then after say 10 to 15 fights, all of a
Yeah,
sudden they sort of appear out of nowhere to the mainstream audience and you're thinking, where's this guy come from? Do you
yeah. I
know? And you're
mean,
thinking there's a lot of
I mean, like
opportunity as
that's how
well.
it goes. Yeah, yeah, and definitely like as well. Like he's quite active as well at this like this side of like heavyweight division slash super middle. I am looking at super middle. Really, we've not, but even up to 10 fights, like there's some good fights up there that could propel you up to quite far up the rankings and that quite early. So it's just I think about with me picking the right fights and making sure I'm just picking up the right experience of what I am lacking is the biggest thing. I think like the fights will come in time. It's just not rushing anything or getting ahead of ourselves too early.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And obviously it's a whole journey that you're on. And
Yeah.
we picked each other up on Instagram. So I'm gonna say at this moment, this is the time to start plugging all your social
Yeah.
handles. So wherever
Yeah.
you want people to follow you and follow your journey,
So
where
mostly it's just on Instagram. It's Kyle underscore Davies underscore boxer, I'm sure. I have got a Facebook page as well. I think it's just Kyle Davies boxer. And that'll be literally everything. That'll be the handle on everything.
So there's a lot of promising fighters coming from your area at the moment, and
Yeah.
there's one in particular that springs out to mind who's got an amazing sort of level of support from people from Stoke in particular,
Yeah.
and that's Nathan Heaney.
Yeah.
Obviously
Yeah.
he's really been progressed throughout his career, and he's got this rematch with Jack Flatley
Yeah.
coming up as well. So there's a lot of promising fighters coming from your neck of the woods at
No,
the
yeah,
moment.
definitely, definitely. He was a tutor at my college, and I was there. To be fair, so it's funny how that works. But yeah, like that support that he gets, just from being around Stoke, so I'm talking to people, everybody knows. So he's done a real good job of marketing as well as the boxing, which, as you were saying, is half of the job as well. Like it's not just the fighting part, the training part. You've got to make yourself kind of a brand as such that people want to come and get behind.
That's a big thing, isn't it? Like when you think about what's happened in the past few weeks
Yeah.
and the controversy over two novice pros fighting in Saudi Arabia and getting paid a
Oh
hell of a lot
yeah,
of money for it.
but
It's
it's
been the top
marketing.
It is. It's been the topic of conversation, and the reason for it is because both of them fighters in particular was able to create what's known as a brand, which is you as
Yeah,
a boxer, which is you as a person, and being able to market yourself in that way. And it's a very difficult thing to be able to do in transition. And I know you've got many challenges on the road ahead of you,
yeah,
but there's a lot of people that are behind you, friends, family, people that you know that are close to you that are here to support you. So it could be an absolutely amazing journey, and it's one that myself and I'm sure our listeners will be
yeah.
following you on. So I'd like to take the last couple of moments really just to let you have the floor and just give a big shout out to those that that are really supporting this journey and really making significant impacts on your life to allow you to do this.
Oh yeah, well I couldn't do it without everyone. Mum for helping me with days off work, letting me come in and out of work when I need to. Obviously all my sponsors, obviously everyone at the gym, Scott, manager, Joe and Steve, my trainers, and Joe especially who has been with me since, well, not just always been together really. And Steve, who is also he trains at another gym, but he comes every time we can help, and they've been both with me since the amateurs. So without their support as well, and everyone at the gym, and everyone buying tickets, like, it just wouldn't be possible. I just couldn't do it on my own. And I think every boxer would say that without everyone that helps, it's just such a hard sport. Even though you're in the ring on your own, you need everyone out of the ring as well. Else you just can't do it really.
No, absolutely. And if anybody obviously wants to get tickets off Kyle, they can contact him via Instagram
Yeah,
or via the Facebook page. Please
yeah,
do. If you are in the local area, please make sure you get in contact with him. Just try and support him wherever
definitely.
possible. It's going to be exciting. It's been a pleasure to have you on, and I
No,
wish you
thank you,
nothing,
thank you.
nothing but the best of luck. And maybe we should catch up in about 12 months' time, and
Yeah,
let's
no,
just see.
definitely.
Let's see where things are at then, and let's see
Yeah,
what the experiences have been like for you then.
no, thank you for having me on. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks, Kyle.